My name's Joshua, and this happened about 10 years ago on Halloween night in Tumwater, Washington. If you've ever lived in the area, you might have heard of the Trails End Arena. It was this old, run-down horse arena just outside of town. The place had shut down years ago after a fire damaged part of the stables, and since then had just been sitting there, rotting, graffitied, with weeds and blackberry bushes swallowing it whole. Locals always said not to go there at night because of squatters, or that it was haunted. I never really believed that kind of stuff, though. But after what I saw that night, I haven't stepped foot near it since. It was around 10:30 p.m. on Halloween. My friends Zach, Jeremy, and I had just left a party in a nearby neighborhood. The streets were empty, except for a few leftover trick-or-treaters and the occasional car. That's when we passed the road that led down toward the arena. It sat directly off the road from the neighborhood with a big, empty parking lot, all illuminated by the moonlight. As we were walking past, Zach suddenly pointed and said, "Hey, what are they doing?" Directly in front of the building, we could see movement. 4 people, all dressed in costumes. They were wearing these dark, ragged-looking robes with what looked like skull masks or something similar. It was hard to tell from that distance, but they looked creepy. We watched them crawl in through one of the busted-out windows near the back of the building. Jeremy laughed. "Bro, they're probably doing something sketchy, maybe smoking or vandalizing or something." Zach, being the idiot he is, goes, "Let's follow them and see what they're doing." I told him no, that we should just keep walking, but he wouldn't let it go. He kept saying, "Come on, man, it's Halloween. Let's have one last little adventure before we call it a night." I gave in only after Zach started making his way to the building. We crossed the street and into the cracked parking lot to the arena. Up close, the place looked even worse than I remembered. The sign out front was half fallen, and the entire structure smelled like mildew and old hay. The windows were either smashed or boarded over, and the roof sagged in a few places. We found the same window those people had crawled through. It was big enough to fit through if you ducked. The second we got inside, it was pitch black, except for a little moonlight coming through the gaps in the roof. You could hear the wind whistling through the rafters, and every step we took echoed across the massive empty space. The ground was covered in dirt, trash, and what looked like old tack equipment. Ropes, buckets, even an overturned saddle rack. We whispered as we walked, trying to find where those 4 people went. That's when Jeremy said, "Dude, look at that." Along the far wall, there were candles stuck in glass jars, some burned down completely, others freshly lit. And hanging above them were what looked like animal bones tied together with string. Zach picked one up and said, "This doesn't look like a Halloween decoration." There were other things, too. Small, torn photos nailed to wooden posts, random pieces of clothing hung on wires, even an old mirror propped up on a hay bale. It was like a makeshift altar, but not one that made any sense. We started to realize that whoever had been using this place had been there often. Then we heard it, faintly, from somewhere deeper in the arena, the sound of people talking to each other. We froze, trying to make out the words. Jeremy mouthed, "What are they saying?" We crept closer, sticking to the shadows until we could see the main arena floor through a gap in the stands. Down in the dirt, in the center of the arena, the 4 people we'd followed were standing in a loose circle. They'd arranged candles all around themselves, and there was something lying in the middle of the circle. Something covered with a tarp. One of them was holding a lantern and reading from what looked like a small black book. The others stood completely still, their heads bowed. At first, I thought it was some kind of weird Halloween prank or performance art. But then the one with the lantern lifted it higher, and I saw their mask. Or I should say, I saw that there wasn't a mask. Their skin was pale, stretched tight, and their eyes were completely black, like they were wearing sclera contacts. Their mouth moved slowly, forming words I couldn't understand. The others started responding, all in unison, swaying slightly. Zach whispered, "Okay, this is messed up. We should go." We started backing away, but then the chanting stopped. The one holding the lantern tilted their head, like they had just heard us. The silence was unbearable. Then all four of them turned toward us. We didn't even have time to react before one of them started running. We took off back the way we came, sprinting through the hallways of the arena, tripping over trash and broken boards. I could hear footsteps behind us, fast and heavy. Zach was ahead of me, Jeremy right behind. We hit the wall where the window was, but I couldn't find it in the dark. "Where is it? Where is it?" Jeremy yelled. I turned and saw a shape sprinting down the hall toward us, a tall figure moving weirdly, like their arms and legs weren't bending right. I finally found the window and shoved Zach out first, then Jeremy. As I was climbing through, I felt something grab the back of my hoodie and yank me backward hard enough to choke me. I kicked back blindly and connected with something solid, sliding out of my sweatshirt to break free, and I fell through the window, landing face first in the dirt. We ran until we hit the road. None of us stopped for what seemed like 10 minutes. When we finally slowed down, Zach was wheezing. Jeremy and I just stood there, shaking. We looked back toward the arena, half expecting to see those people following us, but there was nothing, just silence. We went to the police station the next day and tried explaining what we saw. They sent a deputy out there to check it out, but according to him, there was nothing unusual. He said the arena had been used by squatters off and on, but there was no sign of any ritual or people. When I asked if they found the candles or bones, he just shook his head. That didn't make sense. We all saw them. A week later, I drove by the arena again during the day, just to convince myself it had all been in my head. The windows were still busted out, the grass still overgrown, but what made my stomach drop was what I saw near the front entrance. 4 freshly melted candles lined up perfectly on the ground. And next to them, tied with twine, was my hoodie, the same one I was wearing that night. I don't know who those people were or what exactly they were doing inside that arena, but I do know one thing. Whatever it wasn't a Halloween prank, and I don't think they ever really left that place.